Imagine, for a moment, someone proving what so many people doubt, that God truly exists. This is not just another story. It is a living testimony that pierces the heart of anyone who listens. It is the story of an ordinary girl who, through unforgettable experiences, showed the world that faith is not just a feeling or an idea, but a reality powerful enough to transform lives. From her earliest years, she carried a strange restlessness deep inside. While many children were distracted with games and toys, she often looked up at the night sky, filled with stars, and wondered if someone out there could hear her questions. At night, before going to sleep, she whispered small, almost innocent prayers, filled with sincerity. God, if you're really there, show me that you hear me. Deep down, she felt there had to be more than what her eyes could see. But as time went on, life began to press heavily on her. During her teenage years came the doubts, the pressures, and the voices that tried to silence her faith. Teachers, classmates, even people in her own family told her that believing in God was a waste of time, that science had all the answers, that miracles were just coincidences. She tried to resist, but inside she grew confused, insecure, torn between what others said and what her soul still longed to believe. Then came a night that changed everything. In the middle of her pain, she prayed like never before. On her knees in the dark, with tears falling, she whispered, God, if you really exist, if you truly hear me, prove it. I can't keep living in this doubt. It was a simple prayer, but it was filled with raw honesty. She never imagined how much those words would change the direction of her life. The very next morning, as she left for school, something extraordinary happened. A complete stranger walked up to her, and without explanation, repeated the exact same words she had spoken hours earlier in prayer. God heard you. He is real, and He is with you. How could anyone know? How could someone repeat her secret cry from the night before? In that moment, she felt something she had never experienced before, the unshakable certainty that she was not alone. That sign was only the beginning of a journey filled with experiences that would forever change her life. Years later, when things finally seemed stable, a new and terrifying challenge arrived. A devastating medical diagnosis fell on her like a storm. The doctors were clear. There was no treatment, no cure, no hope. Her family was crushed by despair. But this time, instead of collapsing under the weight of fear, she clung to the faith that had been planted in her heart years before. Once again, she prayed, but she was not alone this time. Friends, relatives, and even strangers began to pray alongside her. Days passed, tests were repeated, and something impossible began to happen. The illness that had no cure started to vanish. Scan after scan, result after result. The impossible was unfolding before everyone's eyes. Doctors struggled to find a scientific explanation, but none could be found. For her, there was no doubt. God had moved once again. But the healing went far beyond her body. The impact of her story began to ripple outward. People who had been hardened skeptics started to reconsider their beliefs. Those who had long abandoned faith felt their hearts stir again. The evidence of her life was undeniable, and it opened doors to hope where only despair had lived before. Yet she knew one thing: her story was not meant to stay hidden. Even though she faced ridicule, criticism, and rejection, she made a brave decision to share her testimony. She began speaking to small groups, gatherings, anyone willing to listen. And little by little, her words began to travel far beyond what she could have imagined. The simple story of a girl who dared to ask God for proof began to echo across thousands of lives, and the results were astonishing. People wrote to her, saying that after hearing her testimony, they began to dream again, to pray again, to believe again. Some even shared their own experiences of healing, visions, and unexplainable answers to prayer that came after being inspired by her words. It was as if her spark of faith had ignited a fire in the hearts of countless others. Over time, the greatest proof of God's existence was not just in the miracles, but in the transformation that took place inside of her. From a confused, insecure teenager, she became a woman of courage, filled with peace and hope, walking with a deep conviction that nothing could shake. Her face radiated joy, her voice carried truth, and her very life became the proof she once begged God to give her. Today, her message to the world is simple, yet powerful. God is real. He is not distant. He is not silent. He cares about every detail of your life. He hears the prayers you whisper in tears, bid even in the quietest hours of the night. And now the question remains: what about you? What would you do if you received such undeniable proof of God's existence? Maybe you are going through doubt, or pain, or despair. Maybe you've prayed but haven't yet seen an answer. Her story is a reminder that God still hears. He still moves, and He can still make the impossible possible in your life. Don't ignore the tug on your heart. Open yourself to believe again, because just as she proved through her life that God exists, you too can experience His presence, His power, and His love. If this story has touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave your comment below and tell us your own story of faith. Like this video so that more people can find it, and subscribe to the channel to hear more testimonies of hope, faith, and the living God who still works miracles today. God is real. He exists, and when you least expect it, He may prove it to you too.